What's up, Guardians, and welcome back, Titans. I'm Profane. Thanks for checking out the video. The Barrow-Dyad is the newest exotic that's been added into Destiny. It's a unique strand SMG that builds up and releases these charges of tracer blights, which work a lot like nano tracer rockets. I don't know if I would go as far to say that the Barrow-Dyad is a better option than the Quicksilver Storm, the Final Warning, or even the Wishkeeper, but it certainly has its advantages, and we haven't even seen this exotic in its full form yet, something that we won't see until Act 2. In today's video, we're going to be checking out the best Titan loadout that you can use to build around this new exotic. The Barrow-Dyad is a 720 RPM aggressive framed SMG, and in its current form, it's much better suited for ad clear situations. As we land shots on enemies, we build up charges of blight. Once we've built up enough charge, we'll be able to release that blight after reloading. After reloading, that charged up blight will be converted into projectile seekers that will temporarily replace your standard bullets. Each one of these will inflict 160 points of base damage, and it will count as strand energy. After coming into contact with an enemy, each of the seekers will burrow through and seek out up to 2 more enemies. If no other enemies are nearby, then those seekers will just return right back to the original target. With a fully charged meter, you'll be able to fire out a maximum of 6 of these blights, which means you could wipe out a whole group of rank and file enemies with just one burst. When the Blight Seekers are launched from the hip, they will come out at a slower rate of fire, getting projected out at 450 RPMs, but whenever they get released through ADS, they're going to come out at 720 RPM. There doesn't seem to be a difference in terms of damage, but at a higher rate of fire, they're able to get to your targets much quicker. As we transition through Heresy, this SMG will see a number of optional upgrades, including Catalyst refits, which will bring this weapon the added benefit of perks like One For All, High Impact Reserves, Target Lock, or even Hatchling. Hatchling will be the trait that synergizes the best with this weapon, but since this exotic SMG does come in kinda low on the overall damage scale, having traits like One For All could become an especially promising option. If Blight Seekers and Little Green Rats wasn't appealing enough, the Barrow-Dyad even has a secret perk, or broken, whichever way you want to look at it, and this provides some interesting benefits. One of the intrinsic perks of this weapon is that when you're not firing it, the stacks of blight charges will be removed, and this weapon will be gradually reloaded. Whenever disabling the full auto function within the settings, the Barrow-Dyad can be continuously fired without ever having to reload. As you continue to fire the weapon, it'll get stuck at 1 round, and if you keep using it this way, you'll be shooting at a reduced rate of fire, coming in at right around 240 RPM. That's going to simultaneously reduce this weapon's recoil, but it doesn't really improve its damage output. What it does do is allows us to fully build up our blight charges before reloading. This way we can get the full benefit of the Blight Seekers, and we can also time out our reload so that we can direct those Seekers onto certain enemies, like high value targets and champions. So it's a really interesting benefit, but you do have to turn off full auto. There's going to be quite a few builds that have a lot of natural synergy with the Barrow-Dyad, and when it comes to Titans, one of the most powerful options are going to be builds that revolve around the use of the Peacekeepers. This exotic acts as an SMG booster, providing its wielder with improved weapon control and increased damage. This pairs up nicely with a Huckleberry and just about any legendary SMG, and it's going to work out really well with the Barrow-Dyad. When you've got this exotic on, all equipped SMGs will receive a 40-point increase to airborne efficiency. You're going to gain a 25% increase in mobility, a 50-point increase in weapon handling, and a 33% reduction to the penalty that's applied whenever moving while aiming down sights. You're even going to gain an increase to your sprint speed and your slide distance, so you're going to be going fast and efficient with this build.
I'm going fast again!
As you land consecutive shots with any SMG, you'll build up a stacking bonus in weapon damage. This works a lot like Target Lock, which means you wouldn't see the full benefit until the end of the magazine. Each stack will provide a 5% increase in damage, with a total of 20 possible stacks, meaning that you'll be able to receive up to a 100% increase in damage. The Barrow-Dyad has a base magazine size of 35, so if we theoretically landed all of our shots, we would have a 40% increase in damage by the time we get to our 10th shot, with our 23rd shot bringing us to our maximum threshold. The caveat is that this damage bonus will go away after 1 second of not firing, and that's where the Barrow-Dyad and its broken full auto interaction will be able to step in and gain a lot of benefits. We can push the Dyad beyond its limits to maintain that final round, and maintain as much as a 100% bonus in damage as we can. We'd be shooting at a slower rate of fire, but our bullets are going to land for so much more damage, especially if we've got weapon surge mods active. Once we go to reload and release our blights, our damage bonus is going to reset, but those seekers are going to help us build that bonus back up very quickly, and they'll even receive the benefits of this bonus damage. There's other great exotics that Titans have the option of using with the Barrow-Dyad. Eternal Warrior is a great choice if you have the class item, but its biggest benefit would only be provided after using your super. Precious Scars would also be a solid option, as it would provide you with a constant source of health regeneration, but if we've got health regeneration getting handled in other areas, you don't really need to rely on Precious Scars, and that's where the Peacekeepers can provide us with the most benefit, because we're gaining a reliable and constant damage bonus. A bonus that we can stack on top of Radiance, weapon surges, and other damage bonuses. Another bonus is that we're not limited to the use of a particular super, which means if we need to use Thunder Crash for extra damage, we can do that without causing any issues. Beyond the synergy that the Barrow-Dyad will have with the Peacekeepers, we'll gain a lot of advantages through the use of our new artifact. With the Unraveling Orbs mod equipped, this weapon will unravel enemies after we've collected an orb or thrown a tangle. This extends on our ability to effectively handle barrier champions, and it increases how much damage we'll be able to deal, since unraveled enemies take continuous strained damage over an 8-second time frame. There's also Horde Shuttle, so once we've gotten enemies unraveled, we'll be able to create threadlings off of them. Threadlings will seek out and damage nearby enemies, giving us even more sources of free damage. I find this combination to work out best on Prismatic, because we'll be able to mix in all of our strained debuffs with Radiance. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we've got our Prismatic class tree set up. To have the most efficiency with this setup, and to play into the use of our new artifact mods, we are using the combination of Dringer's Lash and the knockout aspect, along with Shackle Grenades and Thunderclap. Dringer's Lash and Shackle Grenades give us a consistent source of suspending enemies, making them easier targets to manage and easier targets to throw Blight Seekers at. This is also going to give us an advantage when it comes to fighting Unstoppable and Barrier Champions. It's going to be in our best interest to use arc abilities against enemies who have been inflicted by strained debuffs. With Knockout and Thunderclap active, we'll have a source of health regeneration off of our melee final blows, and because of the use of the Faceted Dawn fragment, whenever we strike enemies with Thunderclap, we'll grant ourselves with a 5-second window of Radiance. Whenever Radiance is active, our weapons will deal 20% increased damage, which will be stacked on top of the bonus that Peacekeepers provides. We've also got Facet of Courage active, so once we've gotten enemies inflicted with strained debuffs like Unraveling, Suspensions, and Sever, our light-based abilities like Thunderclap will deal 10% more damage. The Barrow-Dyad won't be able to apply any strained debuffs on its own, unless that is you're able to get Unraveling. But with the use of Facet of Solitude, we will be able to trigger Burst of Severing whenever landing consecutive precision hits. The damage output of severed enemies will be neutered by 40%, which is an invaluable benefit whenever you're in in-game level content. And because we are using the Disruptor Break artifact mod, severed enemies will deal even less damage. And because of the Elemental Supercharger artifact mod, we'll be able to regenerate our Blade Fury super a lot faster by defeating severed enemies. We also have Photonic Flare, so whenever we defeat severed enemies with any source of arc damage, like our Thunderclap, we'll create a burst of energy that's going to blind all nearby targets. Blinded enemies are temporarily taken out of combat, so not only do we have Suspensions as a method to immobilize enemies, but we're also getting the benefits of blind, so there's quite a few benefits in severing enemies right now. We've also got Facet of Protection equipped to give us even further survivability benefits. When we're surrounded by enemies, we'll gain a 15% bonus in damage resistance, and that'll be in addition to the 15% bonus that we'll gain when Amplified is active. When we are transcended, Faceted Protection's bonus will be extended from 15% to 32%, and since we have a mixture of light and dark-based energies, we'll be able to recharge our Transcendency very fast, just like we'll be able to recharge our super. Our last fragment is more of a circumstantial one. Whenever using supers like Blade Fury and Twilight Arsenal, we would want to make use of Facet of Purpose, so that we would gain either Woven Mail or a Void Overshield, and that would happen after collecting an orb. But whenever we use Thunder Crash, we would build up stacks of Bolt Charges instead, which is much less beneficial for us on this build. So if we are using Thunder Crash, we might want to swap over to Facet of Balance or Facet of Awakening so that we can have improved ability regeneration instead. As we mentioned at the top of this video, the Barrow-Dyad is much more suited towards ad-clear situations, and because of the constant bonus and damage that the Peacekeepers will provide, this will be a much more powerful option against those rank and file enemies, and it's even going to be effective against the tougher ones, like high-value targets and champions. The Barrow-Dyad is an interesting weapon, and it's only going to get stronger as we move deeper into Heresy, which means that this exotic synergy will continue to get stronger. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the Barrow-Dyad with this amazing Titan exotic, then it's about time you do so. And once you've done it, let me know what your thoughts were. That's going to wrap up things for today's video, but thank you as always for checking it out. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. If you need any help setting up today's build, then be sure to check out the dim and Mobalytics links that are down below. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.